It's 3 a.m. in Manhattan, New York, and Emily's wrapped in her pajamas, choked up calling Oliver in the apartment hallway. Her orange tabby cat, she'd had him for 2 years, slipped out through the loosely closed window 3 days earlier. Before that, Oliver had always been pretty indifferent to her affection. When she knelt down to pet his head, he'd flick his tail and walk away like he was too good for it. When she tried to hold him on her lap before bed, he'd squirm free and jump onto the bookshelf, leaving a mess of cat hair behind. Then on the 4th evening, the property manager called. Oliver was huddled by the shelves in the convenience store downstairs. When he saw Emily in that same coral fleece pajama set, he let out a whimper and clung to her pant leg with his claws, like he was grabbing a lifeline. After that, Oliver never left Emily's side again. Even when she was typing at her desk, he'd curl up on the mat next to her, occasionally brushing her wrist with his tail. This shift, suddenly becoming clingy after feeling lost, has a catchy name in psychology: the abandoned cat effect. It's not just about cats, though. It describes a common psychological phenomenon. When someone feels threatened by abandonment or goes through a temporary rift in a relationship, they'll grow more attached to what was once a distant connection. They might even actively drop their cold attitude to avoid facing that loss again. Tracing it back to psychological theory, the abandoned cat effect centers on the attachment system. British psychologist John Bowlby's attachment theory says humans start forming instinctive attachment needs to their primary caregivers as babies, and those needs stick with us for life, shaping our relationships as adults. When that attachment bond gets temporarily broken, like a couple giving each other the silent treatment or feeling sidelined at work, the attachment system kicks in, sparking anxiety, unease, and other negative feelings. Once the relationship is reconnected, to avoid that bad experience again, people usually try to nurture the relationship more actively, just like Emily's cat. After the fear of getting lost, he stayed close to make sure he'd never be abandoned again. B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning theory also explains this. The negative feeling of being abandoned acts as a punishment cue. It makes people realize their previous coldness or distance could break the relationship, so they adjust their behavior by being more clingy or warm to avoid that punishment, eventually forming a new pattern. The abandoned cat effect shows up more in daily life than you might think, especially in romantic relationships, workplace management, and consumer behavior. Take romantic relationships. Lena Cohen, a marriage counselor in Los Angeles, had a classic case. Mark and Sarah had been married for 6 years. Mark was a Silicon Valley engineer who always talked about work comes first. He'd miss their wedding anniversaries regularly, and even when Sarah was sick, he'd make her wait until he finished his meeting to take her to the hospital. Sarah tried talking to him countless times, but nothing changed. She even started wondering if he didn't love her anymore. Finally, she suggested a 1-month break and moved in with her sister in Seattle. 3 weeks into the break, Mark found Sarah's marriage journal hidden in a drawer at their empty apartment. It had entries about how excited she was when he took her to her first baseball game and how lonely she felt eating takeout alone after he worked overtime for 3 months straight. That night, Mark booked the earliest flight to Seattle. He held Sarah and said, "I always thought stability meant giving you a good life, but I forgot you just wanted to share that life with me." Lena later explained that this short break wasn't real abandonment. It just let Mark feel the potential risk of losing the relationship, which woke up the attachment needs deep down. That's the gentle side of the abandoned cat effect. It's not about manipulating someone with threats. It's about using a short gap to help both people see the relationship's value again. But you have to be careful. If you intentionally use the silent treatment or threaten to break up to fake abandonment, it'll only ruin trust. For example, a New York relationship column once wrote about a couple where the girlfriend kept threatening to break up to get her way. When the boyfriend finally actually ended things, she realized she'd abused the abandoned cat effect so much that their relationship was already beyond repair. In workplace management, using the abandoned cat effect means knowing where to draw the line, otherwise, it backfires. During the 2022 tech industry layoffs in the US, a Silicon Valley startup focused on AI laid off 10% of its staff on the spot to cut costs, with no clear criteria. Some top-performing engineers got their firing emails while they were on their way to work. The remaining employees were more obedient than before. They worked overtime voluntarily, stopped pushing back on their boss's ideas, and even spent their lunch breaks fixing code. But the team's creativity plummeted. In a later employee survey, 70% said, "I worry every day I'll be the next one fired. I don't dare suggest new ideas anymore. I'm scared of making mistakes." This compliance from too much threat is the dark side of the abandoned cat effect. Employees don't feel needed, they feel like they could be replaced anytime. So they suppress themselves to stay safe temporarily. Later, the company's new CEO changed things. He got rid of the last-minute layoffs and launched a performance incentive program. Teams that came up with useful new ideas got extra project bonuses. He also set up monthly one-on-one check-ins so managers could listen to employees' needs. Half a year later, the number of innovative proposals was up 40% from before, and the turnover rate dropped to below 5%. This case shows that in the workplace, the abandoned cat effect isn't about making people feel abandoned. It's about helping employees see how their value ties to the team. When employees feel valued instead of easily replaceable, they'll put in effort willingly, not just out of fear of losing their jobs. Brands have mastered using the abandoned cat effect in consumer marketing too, usually hiding it behind benefits and services. Starbucks Star Rewards membership in the US uses this trick perfectly. Members get free drinks or birthday perks when they earn enough points, but if they don't make a purchase for 6 months straight, their benefits get temporarily frozen. When many users get that benefits frozen notice, they'll log into the app and order right away. Some even buy multiple coffees at once to store in their accounts. It's not that they suddenly crave coffee. They're scared of losing the perks they already have. Netflix's subscription service does something similar. When you click Cancel Subscription, the system pops up messages like, "Are you sure you want to give up your next 3 months of free movie tickets?" Or, "After canceling, your watch history and favorites will only be saved for 30 days. These seem like kind reminders, but they're actually triggering the loss aversion instinct, making users realize canceling means losing the benefits they already have, so they change their minds. But there's a line with this marketing trick. If you rely too much on fear of loss, it'll annoy consumers. For example, AT&T once faced backlash because it made canceling phone plans overly cumbersome and charged high early termination fees. Lots of users ran it on social media. "It feels like they're holding us hostage." In the end, AT&T had to change its policies. This shows that in consumer marketing, the abandoned cat effect works only if consumers think what they're losing is valuable, not if you use forced tricks to scare them. Even though the abandoned cat effect explains a lot of changes in relationships and behavior, we need to see its two sides clearly. On the positive side, it can jolt us awake in dull relationships and make us notice what we've been taking for granted, like Mark realizing how much Sarah sacrificed, or the Silicon Valley employees seeing their team's value. But the risk is that if you use it as a manipulation tool, using threats or coldness to make someone give in, it'll trap the relationship in a cycle of fear-driven compliance. Psychological research shows that healthy relationships are always built on secure attachment. Both people trust that, even if we disagree, we won't be abandoned easily, not on fear of loss, to keep the bond alive. As Emily later wrote on social media, Oliver didn't change because he was scared I'd abandon him. He changed because that time he got lost made him realize I'm his safe place to land. The real point of the abandoned cat effect was never how to make someone scared of losing you. It's about helping each other understand that every relationship worth keeping needs to be guarded with sincere care. After all, no one wants to be the cat who stays just because they're scared of being left. We all want to stay because we're deeply loved.